So picture it. You know, you're on YouTube and you're scrolling through your recommended, and you just run across a video that just the title screams, "I'm not like other teachers. I love you." And they even the thumbnail is just, "Are they your lover or your predator?" Are you gonna click on that video, Shio?
Oh my god. uh, no, I would not click on that video.
There's a very very bad trend on the AniTube side of things where you'll like see a thumbnail or a title and it's just like, you know, the topic people don't really know what they're talking about, especially when you see the anime that they choose to put in thumbnail, and you want to pray that it's clickbait to some degree. Like you really want to pray, and I've seen that a lot. Like in the past year or so, a lot of videos have been going on about how there's no strong females in anime. Like why do anime not include strong female characters? And then they generally just have like Sakura in the thumbnail, or a Hime, or Nami, or you know, the stereotypical side female character in a shonen that's not meant to be the strong character. They're meant to be the support character for the main strong character. And I have to disagree. Like I have to strongly disagree, because even when I watch the videos, and I hate that I watch these videos, it's just they don't have a point, because they do talk about characters that, yeah, these aren't strong female characters, but they overlook so fucking many. So we're gonna talk about that.
Why would you do this to yourself, first off? Like, that's literally torture. Anytime I see a video and I know they're just gonna be tearing down characters or a franchise, I usually am like, no, not today. Not today, fam.
So to be fair, if I see something like that from a channel I don't know, I will typically check out to see, okay, are the rest of your titles also unhinged? Are you also talking about how all shoujo romances are toxic? Is that your entire channel? Then I'm not gonna watch your channel, because yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. You're using horrible characters in your thumbnail that don't match what you're talking about. I'm done. But
yeah, and you're using an opinion that is like literally the most like
basic,
stupid, saturated opinion that like anyone would feed you who has never actually consumed that kind of content.
yeah. So the ones I watched are from YouTubers I regularly watch. Like these are recommended from maybe their side channels or even their main channels, and they're just videos I haven't watched yet. So they're from people who I respect. But just because I respect you does not mean I agree with you.
100%.
So, there's a lot of Anitubers out there. I agree with most of their opinions. I do not agree with all of them. It's not entirely their fault. It depends on what anime you consume and how you view it. And it also depends on how you depict a strong female character. Because if you're just talking physically strong, well,
strength comes in many forms.
Yeah, because like physically strong, girl's not really gonna be as strong as your average dude anyway. That's just biology. But regardless, there are still badass strong female characters in a lot of anime. Then there's just strong-willed characters and strong personality characters,
or characters who just are have been through a lot.
Yeah. So I don't think it's really fair to be like, yeah, look at Sakura. She's like the most useless character in Shounen. She's not a strong female character. I'm like, yeah, well, she wasn't meant to be. She's meant there to be the person that's Naruto and Sasuke are save, I guess.
Yeah, but really you have to admit, like, compared to the people who are saying she's not a strong character, she would literally decimate them in a fist fight.
All right, we're not power scaling to reality here, okay? We're not doing that. But yeah. I mean, granted, I think most people could probably beat them into the ground. These people don't even touch grass the time.
That is true.
But no, it's just I hate that they use the main shonen girls as the big three, because that's what they're there for. They're made to be strong in a very small capacity, because you can't have your support character overpower your main character. That doesn't make for a good doesn't make good for a good action shonen or battle shonen. You gotta have that girl that they can come save at the end of the day, the one that calls for help whenever the entire village is being destroyed.
Yeah, they need the ego boost.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That character is needable. Sakura might not be needed. That's debatable. But
I mean, I don't think anyone can help feeling ego boosted when they help someone.
Exactly.
It's like that, like a little guilty feeling. You're like, why do I suddenly feel good? I'm helping someone, and it's like it's your ego, and whether you did it with good intentions or bad intentions, it's your ego.
Right, 100%. And so like that's again, like I see nothing wrong with them having the weak characters, or the weak female characters or male characters, but your main character in a show is supposed to be your strongest, with the opposition of either their rival or the protagonist of the series, or the antagonist of the series.
Yeah, but you can still be like a strong female character even without being the main character.
Oh, 100%. And most of the ones on my list aren't main characters. So
I have mostly main characters, but some of them, one of them is not. Like, I have none of them are main characters except for maybe a few, and I was like, oh no, wait, they're technically part of the main cast. Only one of them is not part of the main cast, but they're still a very important character to the main cast, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I think all mine are main cast for the most part. All of mine. This is gonna be great because we weren't talking about this, but yours are mostly shoujo and mine are mostly shonen and seinen. So this is gonna be yeah. All grounds covered. Yeah. So I guess I'll go first, and my first one is I'll pick an obvious one for now, because I have a couple that might lead to an argument.
Oh, okay.
I don't think an argument from you, but an argument from others.
Oh, okay. I was like, who would you pick other than someone from Redo of Healer that I would get upset about?
All right, let me just delete that one real quick. But no, I was gonna go with so Attack on Titan, to not sound like a broken record since I've brought up this one already. Mikasa, like,
yes,
nobody can argue that she's not at least physically strong character.
Oh no, she's
mentally at least
like the best in the squad. She's first in the class.
Mentally a little bit, like she has a pretty bad backstory, but in later seasons her personality I feel like does kind of weaken to a degree. But if we're talking physical strength, like, yeah, she's only topped by Captain Levi as far as skill. So, and
yeah,
she's got less years under her belt for that. So yeah,
she could probably easily surpass him in the future.
I mean, he is getting up there in age. He's in his 30s.
Yeah,
I know my knees have been hurting, and he's older than I am, so I can imagine. But yeah, so like, you can't say there's not like strong female like main characters, because she is one of the main cast, and again, like, nobody can argue that she's not a strong female character. People will even argue me on her personality not being strong.
No, her personality is hell. Okay, I have a dying question to ask you. I think I already know the answer to this, but I just want to double check. Have you finished the manga? Do you know the ending yet?
No.
Okay, and I'm not gonna say anything.
You should have known the answer to that.
I did, but I also want anyone to listen to know that you have not seen or read the ending yet.
Yeah, no, I'm up to date with the anime.
Do not spoil her. I swear to God, I will find you and I will hurt you if you ruin this for her.
Well, the last episode. When's the last episode coming out? The next part.
I don't know. I'm honestly just waiting for it to all come out, and then I'll just watch the ending.
Because
I have the manga, so I'm like, whatever.
There's only one more part coming out, I believe.
I hope so.
And I think it comes out this year, so
yeah.
It might not come out in the next couple weeks.
I will say, yeah, she's strong. Yeah. Like 100% throughout the complete story to the end, she is a very strong character, both emotionally and physically.
Yeah. So yeah, she has a moment of weakness in one of the seasons, but like I don't.
But we're all human. We all have moments of weakness.
Yeah.
You don't think our protagonist in the big muscly shonen doesn't have a moment of weakness? Like, bruh.
Right.
Like, girls can have weaknesses too. We're allowed to be human.
What do you mean? Goku has no weaknesses.
Sorry.
What's your first strong female?
So my first one is from Psycho Pass, Akane Tsunemori.
I actually haven't watched this yet, so I'm interested.
Yeah, because Akane is so essentially she ends up joining the police force because she passes their very hard to pass aptitude test, which is not just based off of your intelligence, but it's based off of like your emotional intelligence as well.
Okay.
So she is really good at kind of being in control of her emotions, being in touch with who she is, and that takes a lot of strength to be able to kind of hold yourself together in dire situations like she's going to go through in Psychopaths. She's very intelligent and she's willing to make a decision, and she stands by her standards and what she believes in. And she also kicks some major ass.
Okay.
Like, granted, at first it doesn't seem like she is because, of course, she's learning the role. But like as the series go on, she is one badass, and I love her to death because of it.
I've been that one's been on my watch list for a while. It keeps getting pushed down. I don't know why. Because there's a dub for it, I could easily watch it.
Yeah, I really love the whole thing. I think season 2 is pretty weak. But outside of that, season 3 was pretty good, and the movies are pretty good, and then there's more movies coming out. So, it's just a really enjoyable franchise, and I think it's very interesting, especially where some of the plots goes. And for those who have no idea what Psychopaths is, it is kind of a little bit of a sci-fi police story, and it can be a little bit gory at times.
I didn't actually expect it to be gory because all I ever hear about is like it's very psychological.
It
in
is.
A way.
It
so,
is.
Which is, I think,
but there is some scenes that are very hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, yeah.
Which I think it might be one of the reasons why I got pushed back for a while, because there was a point where like I can't really handle heavy stuff at the time. I wanted something like lighthearted. That's, I think,
yeah, it's definitely not lighthearted, but I don't think it's like psychological where you're going to. Okay, I was gonna say I don't think it's psychological to the point you're gonna cry your eyes out, but then I took that back because I remembered certain parts, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe some people will.
Yeah. Oh god.
Because I might have. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
That's fair, and I do cry very easily in certain shows. It takes a very specific thing to make me cry sometimes, but I do cry very easily in anime.
I cry just very easily in general. I think I was crying today. Like, I just cry every day. It's fine.
I was crying earlier, but it wasn't anime really. I cry very much more on reactions to something sad, more so than things that are sad. So if you have like something sad that happens in a show and then you have somebody in the show that is reacting really well to it, that is going to make me cry. Somebody dies and then the other person is like heartbroken, I'm tears. I'm done.
Yes, 100%. I 100%. That's the same for me. I also get cry when I'm frustrated and hungry. So yeah.
Yeah, that's why I watch reactionary content so much too. So because like sometimes I'll be like, all right, I cried watching this scene the first time. Now I'm gonna cry watching this person cry watching this scene. Watching Fruits Basket reactions are hard.
Oh. Yeah.
So, speaking of crying, my next one, one of the main reasons I think they are strong is because of a scene that brought tears to my eyes. And this one's gonna be a bit controversial. So.
I swear to God, if it's the one I have written down, I'm going to scream.
I don't think. Fullmetal Alchemist.
Okay, no, it's not. Okay.
I want to talk about Winry. And very, very specifically, Winry from the original, not from Brotherhood. Because I feel like, well, one, Brotherhood didn't give us the character development that the original gave us, which takes a lot away from the strength of her character, I believe. But it also takes away a scene that I think kind of solidified her strength for me. It's gonna be
now.
Slight
spoiler. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Is that scene in the manga just wasn't in the 09 anime, or was it just an 03 only scene? Because the only experience I have with FMA is through the manga and through the later anime when it comes to Winry.
Okay, so I believe
I've watched a few episodes of 03, but not with Winry.
I do believe it's original anime only.
Okay.
So, because I don't think I mentioned this on stream. I think we talked about this off stream. There is a YouTuber did a 5-hour breakdown comparing the anime, the manga, and the Brotherhood adaptation and what all the differences were. And I don't believe this was included in the manga. It doesn't make sense for it to be included in the manga. Okay. So, slight spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to skip ahead a little bit. It's not. I'm gonna try and do it as little as possible. There is a scene where when Winry comes into town, she gets kidnapped, and Ed goes and ends up finding her, and there's a whole battle that goes on. Basically, Ed can't do fucking shit. Like, she's fucking terrified. She's tied up. He ends up getting knocked the fuck out and tied up, and at the end of the day, they both end up getting saved by the military. And she just went through a traumatic fucking ordeal. She's being talked to by the police, and they've like got her taken care of, making sure she's okay. And she looks over, and Ed's talking to Al, and he's just in tears over how he couldn't even protect a girl. And when he says that, you don't really know if he's talking about Nina or if he's talking about Winry.
Yeah, but that's what I first thought. There was like, oh man, again.
Because it happens. I believe it happens right after the Nina thing. So he says that line, in the way it's phrased, like, well, I couldn't even protect the girl. And she's there, and you can tell, like, she's seeing that she was a hindrance to him. She's seeing that he is now in this state, and she thinks that it's because of her, because she put him in that situation. So she ends up leaving. She ends up giving him a little oil pot to take care of his RML on his own, like, make sure I don't have to come out here next time, you know. But the fact that she showed more concern for him, because for the entire series, she's kind of the anchor for both of them. She's that place home that, in the original, she is the person that they always go back to. She's
like that in the other series too.
She is, but it's not built up as much, because in the original it's built up for like 20-25 episodes. In Brotherhood it's built up for like 10. You don't get as much of like the build up for it, because they kind of speed through a lot of that in the early. And I'll even go so far as in the and this is gonna be I can talk about this one a little easier, I think. Later in the series, she finds out the people that killed her parents, or the person that kills her parents, and in both series it's a different person. Okay.
Oh
yeah, it's different. Because that wasn't revealed yet when that was adapted into the manga. So that's different in both shows. But and also her reactions to it are different. In Brotherhood, she's confronted with the person, and I won't say who it is on either one, but she's confronted with them, and she has kind of a moment of weakness. And like I said, I won't hold a moment of weakness to somebody, like, because she recovers from it very quickly, but she has that. And in the OG, she doesn't get confronted with that person again. And she ends up having a conversation about it later. And her exact wording is, I know the man who killed my parents, and he's a respectable person, so how can I hate him? And I feel like that just hit me so much harder than that scene. And that says a lot because, like, that scene in Brotherhood, when she has that moment of weakness, almost made me cry.
Yeah, because I really like, because in the end, in that moment of weakness that she has in Brotherhood, the amount of strength it takes to not give fully into that weakness in the end.
It says a lot. But
yeah, in both versions, it sounds like it says a lot about her.
Yeah, so her character is, while she's not physically strong, while she gets put into situations where Ed has to save her and even he can't do it, and she ends up being more of a hindered star, she has a strength in her character and a strength in her ability to stand with them, with knowing that she can't stand beside them all the time. I think you can't discount her as a strong female character. I know a lot of time when you talk about strong female characters in Fullmetal Alchemist, they want to talk about the teacher or they want to talk about the Armstrong woman, but they can't hold a candle to Winry, in my opinion, especially in the OG.
Oh, yeah.
She's still strong in Brotherhood, but I feel like OG Winry is still my favorite.
I can't speak much about the 03 Winry, but I can just say it. In any version, Winry is just the epitome of strength.
I think I want you to watch the OG just for the soundtrack.
I mean, I have both of the soundtracks actually on my OST Spotify playlist, so I don't think I gotta worry about that. But
hearing them within, like, the actual scenes that they're played in is a whole different experience.
That is true. I do also like the 03 FMA openings too a lot.
Yeah, because there's an insert song that, like, when it's paired with the scenes that it's put in, it brings chills to me every time, no matter how many times I rewatch it.
Ooh.
So what's your number 2?
So I'm not sure if you've seen this one. It would be Yukino Miyazawa from Kare Kano, or His and Her Circumstances.
I've watched some of that, but I haven't ever finished it.
Yeah,
it's a much older one.
It is a much older one. It's from the 90s. It's a series that I kind of watched so much read early on in my manga experience. Essentially, Yukino. So the premise of Kare Kano, for those that don't know, is Yukino is perfect in every single way, but her perfection is just a mask. Like, she is really silly, very egotistical, but to everyone else, she's very pretty and she's very helpful and she's so smart and she's just perfect in every single way. But she does it because she just loves being praised. But really, she's too afraid to be of herself. So she starts off like, pretty weak, like someone who they're very secretive about who they are and don't really think anyone's gonna like them because they like being praised and being this great person. And she slowly throughout the series and meeting Arima, who she thinks is actually perfect but has his own problems too. She slowly learns to become herself and to slowly face yourself and to come forward and be like, hey, I'm not Miss Perfect all the time. And facing that and admitting that not just to yourself but to your peers, and facing the repercussions of what that is, and not just avoiding them but facing them like head on, that takes a lot of strength to do. It also takes a lot of strength to accept others when you weren't willing to do so before. It takes a lot to kind of turn over your head and to let someone in that you were very much bound to destroy
right
early on.
I need to pick that one back up. I think I had watched that one around a time when watching anime online was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think I couldn't find actual subtitles to the rest of it. That's why.
It's I think actually really easy to find now. I think it's actually all legally, like the entire series is on YouTube. Don't quote me on this,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure the whole series is on YouTube, but by the person who licensed it.
Okay. I'll definitely look into that because I like a good.
But the thing with the
90s anime.
Kano anime though is that the ending kind of like goes in a weird direction because of disagreements between the mangaka and the director.
Oh, that's common though, especially for back then.
Yeah, but like it's like incomplete. Like they didn't finish the episodes.
Oh my god.
Like it's very odd. But it's a really good series. Now, if you do choose to go the manga route and read it, it is also a very weird ending too. So I guess
Oh
no
my
matter
god.
what, you're gonna end up having a weird ending. But the anime adaptation and the direction of it is really entertaining, and the manga is also very entertaining. So
Okay.
you're gonna have a good time either way.
I mean, you know I'm gonna go anime.
Oh, I know you're gonna go
Is
anime,
there
but for you fellow manga readers,
is there a dub?
read it. There's a dub,
Okay. That makes it a
and
lot easier.
yeah, there's a dub, and it's a very interesting dub too. I don't think a lot of no wait, she is voiced. I think if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I think she's voiced by Ash Ketchum.
That means nothing to me.
I know it does, but like that's a voice a lot of people know. And it's a really weird connection because I don't think they've done a whole lot of work outside of Pokemon and like a few other works. If I remember correctly, I could be 100% wrong on this, so don't quote me on this. Look it up and see if I'm wrong.
This is going to be completely off topic, and I probably shouldn't bring this up during the podcast because this was a conversation we had off podcast. But remember the other day when we were talking about voice actors and we were talking about Lisa Orts and how she doesn't really do con appearances and shit?
Yes.
She was literally in a con this weekend, like 20 minutes from my house.
Hell yeah!
I didn't get to go see her. For those watching, I was saying she's one of the voice actresses I've never got to meet in person because like I've never seen her at a con that I've been to in later years. And yeah, she was there's a con in Pasadena that was this past weekend, and she was apparently there, and I got the notification on Instagram like, oh, her signings are gonna be at like noon today, and I'm like, well, I sleep all day, so guess I'm not doing that. But like,
so you almost also went to an anime con this weekend.
Bro, I don't have the money for that shit. I'm saving up for Anime Expo.
I know, it was so hard. I was trying to I held back so much, but I also didn't fully hold back because there was a few things I was like, oh my god. You can see it all on my Twitter.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, I could probably, because that's not even a con I can probably weasel my way into because I never worked that one, so I don't know the owners. But you know, could have done it. Could have if I would have known ahead of time, I would have done it. But I never go out to Pasadena. It's on the other side of town for me. But, so my third.
Yes.
This was the only one I was concerned that might be on your list, but it's a shonen, so I wasn't sure. Tokyo Revengers.
Oh, nope, not on my list.
Okay. I wrote down Tokyo Revengers. I didn't write down her name because I'm a dumbass.
Oh my god.
The girlfriend. Hinata? Is it Hinata?
I think it's Hinata.
Hinata? I was thinking that I'm like, I don't know if that's right because I'm dumb. But yeah, so main girl, she is the girlfriend or the ex-girlfriend of the main character who is basically going back in time to try and save her life. Like also trying to fix a lot of other shit, but his main goal is basically to save her. I'm in second season now, right? And I didn't initially think much of her. I thought she was just gonna be like kind of like Hitman Reborn side female characters where they're just kind of there, but they don't really do much.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, like I love Reborn, I really do. But that's the first vibe when I first saw her character and got introduced. I'm like, okay, she's just gonna be there. She's just gonna be the cute girl that he crushes on the entire fucking show. But The fact that she has gone through this entire series for 2 fucking seasons, right? And he has joined a gang, and she's had to deal with all these scary gang members, and she just not even blink a fucking eye. She's just like, "Oh, you're cool. You're nice to my boyfriend. I'm fine with that." She just rolls with it. She's so fucking fine with it, and yep. She takes it all in stride. Like, he gets the shit beat at him all the fucking time, and she like stands up to him, and she puts up with the fact that he's going through these kind of quote unquote mood swings, because he goes from being this annoying like teenage version of himself to being kind of mature and caring towards her, and she just kind of rolls with it. She's like, okay, so you're different, but you're still you. But there's a scene, and I will not spoil this, but there's a scene in season 2 where she beats the shit out of him.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, I like you a lot now, because like that would have been my reaction too, to be honest. But given what he just did to her,
here has not wanted to punch Takemichi. Please hold your hands up, because I don't believe you exist.
Yeah, she does so repeatedly. Like, there's like 4 or 5 times this season where, well, I would say 4 times this season where he's turned up with like bloody and beaten up, and one of them was by her hands. Yeah. And I loved it. I was like, that shows like she's not just like the sideline girl that's just like gonna put up with whatever. She's not the type of girl that's just gonna be like, okay, well, yeah, everyone in the gang's nice. And like, no, you fuck with her, she's throwing hands. I'm down with this. Like, she was very quick. There's been a couple situations where Takemichi's been in danger in front of her, and she's had to be stopped from getting in the middle of it. Like, and not in the reckless way that he throws himself in the middle of danger and just gets the shit beat out of her, but like she does want to try and do something in kind of the same fashion, but with a little more caution than he shows, because he'll run in and then immediately get slammed into the ground. I did not expect to like Tokyo Revengers as much as I do, by the way.
I've read the manga for Tokyo Revengers, and I really love the series till a certain point. But I still enjoy the series enough. I'm still collecting it, so I didn't hate. So that doesn't mean a whole lot. But no, I really like her character too. I really like that. She really stands her ground and isn't afraid to say if she doesn't or does like something, whether people agree with her or not.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care if these big scary dudes are imposing on her. She's gonna tell them to fuck off.
Oh, 100%.
She's not gonna give 2 shits. And that takes a lot when people are really scary. So
it says a lot more, because there's also like moments where adult Takemichi is now back in his teenage body, and he's in some very precarious situations with other females that he should not be in the middle of. And she doesn't like, she's not overly jealous or anything like that. She doesn't like fly off the handle about it. Like, she puts her fucking foot down, but she shows a level of trust there that honestly he doesn't really deserve. But obviously, like, teenage him is up to some shenanigans to some degree. Tokyo Revengers has been really good at writing female characters, because there's even another female character that's more prevalent in the arc I'm currently in, and I think she's also really fucking like strong-willed. So I was not expecting that in a show about male delinquents.
Yeah, there's actually there's a lot of girls that are introduced in Tokyo Revengers, even like stuff that hasn't come up yet. Who are just, they're very well written, really strong females.
I want to learn more about Mikey's sister.
Yes.
I love her design.
Yes. There's other characters beyond. You remember just like I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. But there's also like other characters that get introduced too, and I think even like the opposing gang female characters are also pretty dope too.
Yeah.
When they do get introduced and things like that.
I'm excited. I just, again, like I did not expect to like her as much as I did. I was very much expecting whoever the random I forget the girls' names. Both the girls in Reborn, at least the main two love
Kyoko
interests.
and Haru.
I hate them so much. I really do.
I love them, but the reason I love them isn't because of their performance in Reborn. It's because of their performance in a Katakyo Hitman Reborn fanfic.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, damn, you really took them and you really made them good.
Fair.
I'm just overall, I'm just surprised I liked Tokyo Revengers.
Yeah, on a premise, I didn't think I would,
Same.
but I kind of like how in depth they're going with a lot of the characters, not just the female ones, the male ones as well. They've done really really well. Granted, I was sold the minute I saw Mikey, roundhouse kick somebody to the temple. Uh, that shit just hurt me looking at it. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was convinced to watch Tokyo Revengers because I thought Draken was hot. I was like, damn, that's a character.
I love everyone thirsts for Draken, and I'm over here thirsting for a character that nobody else thirsts for, and I'm like, I'm on my own. Shit.
So you think that, but I think there's a thirster for every character on their show.
There might be, but like,
except for maybe Takemichi, except for maybe him.
You'd be surprised.
There's a lot of merch for him.
Yeah.
So
I have a love for one character, and I have developed a love for a second character that is probably not going to be relevant for the rest of the series, which I'm sad because they only kind of recently showed up for this season.
Oh, you're gonna need to message me those characters, and I will find you people who are their thirsters.
Well, the main one is basically his main ally in the second season. The one he tells everything.
Yes. He has a lot of thirsters.
I hear like nobody talk about him, and I'm like,
no. Oh my god, I'm not gonna lie. That is like the main people I see thirsting over outside of Mikey and Draken. Like
it's literally like, all Mikey, Draken.
Them. That is the three most thirsted characters.
I see Mikey, Draken, and then the big brother a lot. The white-haired one that also has the dragon tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he gets the one you're thinking about is heavily thirsted too.
Yeah. And then the
for good reasons.
And the new one is the black-haired right-hand man of the main bad
Baiju?
The main bad guy in the Christmas arc.
Yeah.
Okay. Or is it New Year's? It's Christmas, right?
It's Christmas.
Yeah.
I read this series so fast that I can't remember.
They refer to him as Coco, and I think I'm like, is it Kokoro? And I'm like, or is that just what my heart does? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, enough on hot dudes. Strong female characters.
Strong female characters. I guess what about us? Are we strong female characters?
That depends on who you ask.
That is true. We are very weak to hot men, though. Or hot anime men, I should say.
I'm very weak to weak men. Just say that.
That's true.
I have a type.
Well, my next pick is also weak to weak men. But they are a strong female character. I picked Miho Azuki from Bakuman.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, Bakuman is a story by the creators of Death Note about these two guys who come together and they decide that they're going to become famous mangaka. But the way that they motivate to do that is the one guy basically tells the girl he likes, who is Miho, that he likes her and that they should get married when she reaches her dream to be a voice actress, and when he achieves his dream to be a mangaka, and when she acts in his anime. And this girl has the will and patience of a saint and an angel, because my god, it was a long time this series covered. And she really sticks by their promise. She's there to support him, like, in his weakest moments, like, but at the most part, she's very, very dedicated to keeping their promise and to working her butt off to achieve her dream And that takes a lot of guts and a lot of skill to work your ass off to not only achieve your dream, but to stay away from probably your number one cheerleader and the person that you really like while doing so. Like
Right.
that's a lot. And she does all of that. And it's pretty amazing. Like I really like her. She doesn't get a whole lot of screen time because she's a part from the main character for this promise, for them to achieve their dreams, but she is like someone I look to and I'm like, dang, that is someone who I wish I had that willpower and that strength.
Yeah. That's another one that I need to watch. And I know exactly why I haven't watched it yet, and it has nothing to do with the actual series.
Oh,
so, uh,
why?
because I I learned of this series. There was I don't know if you would call it an anime shop. It was like a store where I grew up. That it's a large chain, but they sell anime stuff. They sell manga. They sell video games. They sell like music and stuff as well. But
Okay.
all the workers there on their badges will say what their favorite like piece of media is, and I was hitting on one of the workers there, and he had that anime on his badge, but
Oh.
I had never heard of it, and I thought it was Bakugan, you know, the
I
little
knew
marble.
it. I knew that's what you're gonna say. You know what? To be fair, I thought the same thing when I first heard of the series.
Yeah.
So you're fine.
And I was in the middle of watching Bakugan at the time because I was like, oh, it's like Beyblade and stuff like that, and I kind of liked the premise of it, so I was watching it, and then I went up to the show and I was like, I'm gonna go talk to this dude about it, and then I found out I was completely wrong, and I was like humiliated, and I never went back there again.
Oh my
So I'm still
God.
traumatized. I haven't watched it.
So funny, so relatable, and so funny. Um, yeah. I Bakuman is, I don't know. It was one of those series I was reading as it was coming out, and um it to me, like, the time it was coming out, I think it really revolutionized the West's understanding of how anime and manga is made in Japan.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like we knew certain things, or there was a lot of people who knew stuff and a lot of people who didn't. But it really kind of commonized the knowledge, I would
Yeah.
say. Which was really, really nice. But it also does so in a fun way that still feels like almost like a shonen battle series.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a really enjoyable series. There is like a few things that people say that they're like they don't really care for in Bakuman. And I get it, but overall, I still think it's a fantastic series. It has a lot of knowledge in it, a lot of references to your favorite series,
Yeah.
and it has really good character development.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I've seen a lot of clips and AMVs and stuff about it. So I'm like, it looks right up my alley. But every time I think about it, I'm like, I'm gonna go watch Bakugan again. Fuck this
Yep.
shit.
It also has a really good anime opening for like season 1.
Okay, that
Your
also.
love.
Oh my gosh.
All
Okay.
right.
So
Your
my
turn.
next, I, I'm pretty sure you watched this.
Okay.
Pretty sure you watched this, and if you have, I want you to see if you can guess who I'm gonna pick from this series. Code Geass.
I have, and I have a feeling that it's the one I wrote down.
Oh no. Is it Euphemia?
Oh, no, it's not.
Let's go.
But good pick.
Yeah. So I picked Euphemia because I think she's kind of not degraded, but kind of cataloged into this one category based off of one scene that she has, and
Yes.
where she should be cataloged more into the scene that happens after that. And she's a great comparison to her sister, which I think is like her sister's supposed to be a really strong character, and I won't go into that too much, but like she is seen as the like the prim and proper like princess, the little sister that's always protected by her older sister. Like she take at some point in the series takes over Area 11, which is Japan, and she has big plans for it to, you know, actually undo a lot of the injustice that has been done to the area. Slight spoilers, actually, if you haven't been spoiled on this scene already, which it's really hard not to be spoiled on this fucking scene because this is probably one of the only plot points that really gets spoiled other than the ending. She accidentally gets the Geass used on her, and she kind of loses her mind and becomes what do they call her, murder princess or something like that.
Yeah, or the genocide queen.
Yeah. And the way the Geass works is that like he can give an order and she's kind of stuck in that. And there's a scene after she's been taken down basically where she's resisting the Geass, the thing that nobody else can stop. She starts resisting it at the end. And it might be because she's on like her deathbed, but it also could be because the person she's there with is the person that she cares for seemingly the most apart from her own sister. So like she's there and she's trying to like fight this urge to like just, you know, kill all the Japanese, where she basically did for a good like 10 minutes before she got taken down. And that just shows how like strong her resolve, like regardless, even if she is on her deathbed and she's sitting there dying, it says a lot to someone's character to be able to resist something like that in that situation, and be able to talk normally with him for a few minutes, you know.
God. This like making me tear up. It is about it. Like I'm like tearing up right now. I'm like,
it's one of these saddest scenes. I
she
love
loves him so much, and she's like, I can't hurt him no matter how much my impulses.
It's such a
to kill
good
him
scene.
Because he's Japanese.
And everyone harps on that episode, either because like they meme on her being like excuse me, 11s, can you all please die? Or they get mad because like Lelouch accidentally used his power because he didn't intend to, and they're like, oh, that's just convenient. And I'm like, but it wouldn't be it even if it is convenient. It's like it wouldn't be interesting if it didn't happen in a grand way like that. If he just suddenly lost control against of his power against somebody we wouldn't give a shit about, then nope, we wouldn't care as much. But because he used this on somebody who was like, he expected to go in there and use it on her, and then she took a full 180 on him and was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna like do anything against them, I'm going to help them. And she gives him this whole idea of like what she plans to do, and he's like, well damn, you're no longer the little girl I remember, holy shit. And it's just it's such a heartbreaking thing, not just for Suzaku but for Lelouch and for like the main cast, because it turns the tide of the entire story so strongly after that. Oh god,
it does. But like even before this scene, like it's a lot of strength to basically have a very different ideal than what everyone in your family and everyone in your government is presenting and what they want.
Yeah.
Like, she's the only one who's like, you know what? Like, we're the bad guys to these people. And she's like the only one who's like actively trying to make change in the government, no matter how many people are like, you're a child. You don't understand what's going on. These are bad people. And she's like, no, they're not. And she stands her ground time and time again when these people keep shoving down her throat all the way to the end until he uses his gas on her.
Yeah, and I fucking love that, because like the only other person in that family that would be close to having those ideals is the one that got abandoned by that family. Like, Lelouch is the only one that gives a shit about taking down the family, and that's because like he was thrown out by it basically. So for her to still be raised in it and still like think it's a loving family to a degree, I guess she has her qualms within the family as well. But for her to be this, and I love the, what is it, Gat Moe, to have like the really cute prim and proper princess to be the strong-willed like badass of the series. I love that, because like her sister is supposed to be the strong of the two, and her sister's also fucking wrecked by this, by the way. God, did her sister take it hard.
Yeah, it kind of really shows in like Offset. While Cornelia is very strong presenting, she's
Mm-hmm.
very weak internally.
Yeah. So like
Um,
I love that. I love that dynamic between the two of them, and I love that character development that we got. And I hate that people clown on it so much because it's such a strong scene. It's such a strong episode.
it is. It's honestly, she is one of the most enjoyable characters to watch in that show.
She really is. Gone way too soon. So who's your Code Geass pick then?
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip a bunch of names on my list and go to that one. So I picked the more obvious one. I picked C2.
You said obvious, and I'm like, okay, it's either C2 or Colin because this bitch is not about to pick Shirley.
No. Um that could have changed in the movie. I haven't watched the movie yet, but no. I think C2 is also a very strong female character. Euphemia, yes, 100% is a strong female character too. I think there's a lot of female characters in the show that are really well written and are pretty strong.
I'm gonna tell you, Code Geass is one of those ones where I didn't put the name of the character. I just put Code Geass because I knew what character I was talking about on my list.
I could, if I would have put Code Geass, I probably would have sat there and be like, ah, shit, which character am I talking about? Because there's so many.
There really is
characters. But I put C2 down there because now you really can't talk about like what makes C2 strong without going into her spoilery backstory.
I mean, you also just can't go into why characters are strong without spoilers in the first place. Like that's
that is
a given with this episode, unfortunately.
That is true. So heads up, there's just gonna be more spoilers throughout this episode. So if you hear a franchise that you don't want to be spoiled on, skip ahead a little bit. Maybe we'll put timestamps in the episode.
I don't know how to do that, so good luck.
I might. I'll see if I can work something out. But essentially, like she's like basically abandoned and is tricked to essentially take a Geass and to take on the code, and basically was completely used and manipulated her entire life until she became withdrawn from society. It takes a lot to come back from that. That's a lot of shit to go through. And even if you're still like hurt and traumatized over it, like she really fucking just kept going.
Right.
She's not afraid and she stands her ground mostly. And no, she's a good character. She's strong. She's kicks ass too. She's not afraid to basically pick up the main character when he's flopping and being like, "You fucking dipshit."
Yeah.
She's like, "Of course your plan didn't work." And then like everyone thinks his plan worked and she's really like, "Yeah, it's cuz I saved his fucking ass." At the end.
I love so for C2's character, she shows up and she's kind of like this enigma for a long while, and she kind of comes off as very like heartless and emotionless. And I think that begins to change after Mao gets introduced.
Yes.
Because like Mao's the previous Geass user that she kind of like she raised essentially from a small child. And, poor boy suffered. I love that character so much, mostly because of his voice actor. But she you can tell that she cares about him still, and she's strong enough to let the events play out the way they need to play out, and give Lelouch the direction he needs to, you know, take care of Mao. But oh my god, can you imagine like essentially raising a child like that and being so close to them, and then having like knowing you had to abandon them, it was hard enough, but like knowing you have to like allow them to be basically
you have to, it's like putting down your dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call Mel a dog, but I would say like that's her child, like her adopted child more than a dog.
Yes, but like I was trying to think of like the most Ackerman feeling to it as a human, and I'm like, it's because like people don't put down their kids, like unless there's something like already like they're already sick or it's a tragic accident.
Yeah, like that happens,
and they don't care. So
I was gonna say that there's medical issues why that might happen. So
yeah, like but that's like the parents aren't usually willing to pull that plug.
Yeah, and the fact that she knows she has to, not just for like Lelouch's sake and her own, but for Mouse, because he's just suffering with the power that he has. His power, like, his is the first introduction to him losing control, because that happens before Euphemia, right?
I think it start Lelouch, I think I experienced it like once or twice, and he doesn't really fully know what's going on. This is the first time he kind of like really learns like the repercussions of it going out of control before he really learns it the hard way with Euphemia.
Yeah. So it's like it's the first introduction that, like, okay, Geasses are like they get stronger, and his got to a point where, like, he just that he can't be around people. It's too much for him, and it's I feel for the boy, but like I feel for C2 for having to like allow this decision to be made, or to make the decision to help this happen, because she basically tells Lelouch, like, okay, here's his weakness, go for it. So.
Yeah, but I also like that she also lets him humble Lelouch a little bit. Like, I'm like, he really needed that humbling.
He really
and she's
did.
like, yeah, you really need this humbling, but I also need you to kind of take care of this for me.
Yeah. Geass just it has too many moments that hurt me.
It does. It's definitely worth a rewatch at least once every year, every 2 years.
I think there's only one death in Geass that does not hurt me, and I'm still happy it happened.
I can't think of what that would be. But anyways, so what
it's
is
the one that Mao kills? I'll say that.
Oh, yeah. No, that one upsets me. That one still upsets me, because that's like losing your best friend. That one more upsets me because it's like losing your best friend.
I hated her character so much.
And you're losing your best friend because of a bad decision you made.
I don't even see her as a best friend. She's just creepy.
So, I don't dislike Shirley, but I don't love her.
Right.
So, it's for me, it's still pretty sad. I think even if I don't like a character, if someone's sad over them, I usually am pretty sad.
I think like my most hated like character trope, that is in anime at all, is I love this character. They don't barely know I exist, and they definitely don't care for me in return, but I'm gonna still love this character and continue to love this character and pronounce my love for this character even though they don't like me back. I'm like, stop.
Damn, so you dislike the Shio character.
God. It's the Sakura. I even don't like Hinata. I don't like it. There's degrees where you can do it right, and I like it, because like Juvia in Fairy Tail, she's kind of that, but like she's not rejected by Gray. That gets put to rest very, very quickly. He does not like the outward like PDA version of it. So because he's very warm to her whenever the others aren't around. But yeah, my next one, since I brought up Fairy Tail, I'll go ahead and bring up a Fairy Tail character, this is actually kind of funny because it's my least favorite Fairy Tail character of all time, but it is also the epitome of a strong character in Fairy Tail. It's the one nobody can argue, and it's Urza Scarlet.
It's like, and you're like, oh yeah, the epitome of strength, and I'm like, I knew immediately who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like when you think of a strong female character in Fairy Tail, Urza is the one that comes to mind, and it is because she's physically strong. Well, written, she is the weakest character, and she is not waifu material because, and no one can argue this, because even the writer of the manga didn't even know what the fuck her personality or her powers were going to be when he first wrote her in. He was just like, yeah, I'll figure that out later, which is why her personality flip-flops a lot from being kind of this oblivious, annoying asshole to being kind of cute and fuzzy and I like strawberry cake kind of girl. It's very fucking weird. I don't like it. But she's renowned for being this really, really strong wizard, like the strongest female wizard within the guild. Only really rivaled by Mira Jane, who doesn't really fight anymore and is more passive than she was when she was younger.
But it's still very scary and badass.
Very scary. Like, her power's amazing. I mean, I almost would have put Mira Jane on here if she was still a prevalent fighter in a lot of the series, but Urza has so many moments like in her fights where she is literally pushed to the edge. There's a arc. I don't remember exactly which arc it's called. It's one of the arcs where they're fighting demons, and the demon's power is to amplify feeling, basically, and they amplify her sense of pain. Oh. And so they're literally whipping her with like the amplified pain, and she is experiencing it tenfold over and over again, and it gets to the point where it literally breaks her mind. Like they show her and she's just
mind break. What?
Yeah. I mean, Fairy Tail is known for its fan service, so which I'm not gonna lie, seeing Urza tied up and being whipped by a Dami Mommy is probably partially fan service, but the implications of what's going on is not lost in this scene, which is
no.
I love Fairy Tail because they implement the fan service there while not losing track of what's actually going on in the scene, and she's just being tortured. And I don't know how long this goes on because they pan away from it and there's other fights going on at the same time that they pan to. And when she finally gets free, like, she finally busts the fuck out, she fucking loses it. She tears shit fucking down. She gets zero fucks, and her backstory as well.
Her backstory is really good.
It is, and I like, as a small child, to be like put into basically child slavery and to be pushed to the limit where she was, and then she gets taken in by the Fairy Tail group after she escapes from that and everything, and she thinks all her friends are dead, and oh my god, to have that kind of a heavy backstory, and then to see her, the reason why she'll never let her armor be taken off, while she's always shown in armor even though she doesn't need it all the time, it says so much about like how much her backstory has hurt her and how much she wants to keep her current friends safe because she couldn't keep her past friends safe.
Yes.
Oh my god, I hate her so much. I really do. She is, I get, my least favorite character. I like Lucy more than I like Urza, but I can't argue that she is the strongest character in that series.
And that says a lot.
It really does. I'm putting my bias aside and not talking about Juvia or Levy, and that hurts me.
Yeah, that's hard because those are like, Fairy Tail does have a lot of really good strong females.
Hiro Mashima knows how to write. He knows how to write backstories. I will say that right now, because even in his previous work of Rave Master from before Fairy Tail, backstories fucking hurt in that show. And now Eden Zero, I've barely touched it, and so far, like, from what I'm seeing, is like I barely touched the backstory of one character. I'm like, okay, Mashima's still on it. Like his where One Piece is big on the world building, Mashima's big on the backstory building, and I love that because it gets you really attached to the characters very easily if you can write a strong backstory for them.
Yes.
Who's your next?
So I am switching it up now. I'm going to more of my Shoujo characters. Okay. I picked Kyoko Mogami from Skip Beat.
I actually almost put her. I almost did because she's so inspiring for me.
She is. She's a queen.
I channel her internally a lot.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Skip Beat is a series about Kyoko, who follows her childhood friend / the object of her desire, I should say, to Japan to support him being an idol, and he kind of like is an asshole to her. I'm paraphrasing. There's a lot more, nuance. But essentially, he tosses her aside, and she finds out he's just using her, and he doesn't really care too much about her. And she is hell-bent on becoming the best actress in the world and showing him up to get revenge on him.
I love that level of spite. Like, I had no interest in acting before, but just to spite you, I'm gonna become an actress.
Yes. And my god, she goes through like to just completely flip 180, being pretty much like to be honest, she's straight up like his doormat
Mm-hmm.
before this, and to completely snap and immediately be like, I am an independent bitch. Not only have I been supporting you and paying money for the place that you live, supporting your fancies, even when you were nobody, she's like, I can do the same thing while still supporting myself. And I didn't go to high school. And she goes out there and she goes through so much development and she takes it all in stride. Like she's working through her own self while also trying to work through and to achieve her goals. And they become so much more than revenge. And she's a fantastic character and I cannot stress that enough.
She really is, because like when I first watched it, that first episode was really hard because I'm like,
Yeah, it is.
you can't really be like, she really is the pick me girl of that
Yeah.
series at the beginning. She's just like, I just want to make you happy, and then like shit happens and she's just like inner fire burning. I'm gonna chop off all my hair, dye it. He's never gonna recognize me. I'm going to stalk the outside of this agency until they let me in and force them to acknowledge that I exist, to force my way into this. And the agency eventually just kind of like, oh, we'll just have fun with this. We're gonna create a whole new department just for you.
Yes. I mean, essentially anyone who's been like really loved someone and then were deeply betrayed and hurt by them and immediately just like a switch went off, you just despise them with all your being. Everyone's going to relate to that who's been through that.
Yeah.
And she's going to be your role model. She is fantastic. Now she's very young, so she has a lot of growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
But she works through her growing pains and she's constantly becoming a better like she is so strong. I love her so much.
I love that they actually in that show also show her getting better.
Yeah.
Because like she essentially goes through an audition phase and she fails that audition so hard. Like, and you can see it like that you can there's no like, oh, she she did the acting job. Like, no, she did something and they are like, okay, you failed that, like really obviously failed that, and then like somebody in the back just having like, I see a little potential there, so we're gonna give you this department and you're gonna work on your personality and fix that. But you see like later on, because that's when I actually have read some of the manga. I'm not caught up because
I'm
reading is hard.
caught up because it's still ongoing, guys.
Yeah.
It's still going. So if you haven't been on that, you need to get on that.
Yeah. It's been going for a while too.
Yeah, and it just recently came back. Like I think all the omnibuses just all recently got reprinted, so this is the time to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like there's a scene in the manga where like she's forced to she now has a new kind of rival, which is also her ex-man's rival, which is kind of funny, and she's forced to act across from him while she's injured. Yeah. And I remember watching that scene and like I don't know how better you can convey this struggle of trying to act opposed to somebody else that is a really strong actor than the way they portrayed it, with the inner dialogue, the way they describe how he's kind of forcing the lines out of her and how she can't like just let him lead it. And it's like the way they describe it is almost like a dance, and I love that because there's no really other way to really do that.
And like the thing is, it's consistent and it stays into that level of quality throughout the entirety of the series, especially with her act, because it never really strays from that. Like there's obviously like a little romance in there too, but it never strays from the core of the story, which is Kyoko being motivated to be the best actress of all time.
Right.
And every little piece she grows and she takes with her, and she really wants to become the best her out there. And it's just, oh, she's so, and like mind you, like she when she moved to Tokyo, like she stopped going to school. Like she's not a bright bulb.
Nope.
But she is very hardworking and very sincere and going through a lot of hurt and pushing through and persevering, and it's beautiful.
Can we get a Skip Beat reboot, please?
Yes, please. Please. I am begging. Because there's so much manga.
There is.
It's almost 50 volumes now.
Because yeah, they stopped it because it caught up, right? That was one of the few shoujos that stopped because it caught up, not just because they intended to stop it.
Well, the arcs are very long in Skip Beat. So versus because it's 50 volumes, but of those 50 volumes, those arcs are like monsters. They're multiple volumes. And because they have a lot of like, they talk about things that happen in between like the daily stuff in between these arcs. And they're not just random daily stuff. Like it ties in with other subplots.
Right.
But I was reading through and flipping through the omnibuses, and you just really realize like, wow, this whole arc is multiple volumes. And there's various arcs. Like it's not like as long as some shonen anime arcs, but they're very long arcs for I would say like a regular shoujo series. If you haven't already, watch Skip Beat and read Skip Beat.
I'll actually second that. This is one of the mangas I'll actually recommend, which is very rare for me.
Yeah.
Normally I'm like, go watch anime, fuck manga. We're good.
Yeah, there's a reason it's still going for so long. Because it's good.
Anime, please. More anime.
Reboots. I mean, the anime was good as it is, but
it is, and it doesn't.
Like, I just want more in a more updated anime style.
Yeah, because like I would say just a continuation, because it doesn't really give an anime only ending, does it? It just kind of like ends.
Yeah, and even if I don't remember if it's anime only ending, because when I watched Skip Beat, I wasn't fully paying attention because I already read it, so I just kind of had it in the background. So I don't really know if the anime is original or not.
I've watched it twice, so and I know
that like the arc that's after that is like the arc is the arc, and I'm like,
yeah,
you see that arc animated, because my god, peak fashionista queen, my god. Anyways, the end.
100%. It needs a reboot with better anime style and better voice acting, please.
I mean, the voice acting wasn't bad. I mean, granted, I also watched the sub.
Yeah, I watched dub. So that's one where I'm like, the dub isn't bad, but it's also could be improved. So my next, I'm happy I can actually talk to you about this one without spoiling, because this is a character that is introduced to the point where you're at, because it's a One Piece character.
Oh, okay.
Because you're in you said Water 7?
Yep, but I won't be for long. I'll tell you about that afterwards.
Yeah.
Like after you're done explaining your character.
It's cool because the character I'm talking about is the main character for Water 7, basically, and it's Robin.
Yeah. I'm at the very beginning of Water 7, remember?
Yeah, I'm good. So, because I don't have to go into depth of anything past that to explain. Because One Piece does strong female characters really well, as if you take out Nami. Nami is the weak female character of that show, but every other female character that gets introduced after that is strong in their own right. And Robin, I think, works really well because you're thrown into this ship full of insane characters. You
absolutely batshit dumb, insane characters.
And the most sane one there in the beginning is Zoro, until you get Robin. Robin is like the mom of the crew. She is the one that she's sitting there with her book, and like Luffy's trying not to fall off the ship, and Sanji and Zoro are fighting, and Chopper's hiding around a corner somewhere, and Usopp's doing God knows what the fuck else, freaking out. And she's just sitting there eating. She's fine. She handles whatever zaniness, and she's entertained by it. She's like, oh, this is kind of like wholesome in a way, but she's also just like maintains her sanity. I could not maintain my sanity. I love One Piece characters. If I was thrown on that ship for more than 10 minutes, I would want to leave. I would jump overboard.
It'd be okay.
But you've seen her power before as well, yeah?
Yes.
So her power, the Hana Hana fruit, lets her grow arms out of anything, basically. Not OP at all.
I heard it's any body part, though. I heard.
Yeah, it's any body part, but like she mainly uses her arms or her legs. Yeah. But this is the first character we're introduced to where they blatantly kill people with her bare hands. Because yeah, Zoro uses a sword, but you kind of like you see
You're
him
like,
injure
oh,
him.
that move was too cool. Like, and you're like, who cares
Yeah.
if they die? That was so cool.
Yeah, but he slices them, and it's just kind of implied that they're knocked out. It's not really like, because you don't really see a lot of blood splatter or anything like that. And Luffy hits them with like his gummoos, and that's fine. Sanji does his kicks, but Robin throws fucking hands out of their shoulders and snaps their necks. That is her main move that she uses early on in the series. It's just like, oh, you like having a neck? No, you don't. She just straight up murders people with her own hands, and it's kind of terrifying that they just wrote that in there into like a young boys show that early on. I could see this being later One Piece a lot easier than I could as early as she shows up, and I'm like,
well, I think when she shows up, because you get the backstories and you know, like, shit's real. But I think when she starts showing up, you're like, oh no, like, the story overall, it's not just backstories anymore. Now the story is heating up in total.
Yeah.
Now, and she really kind of sets that turning point.
Yeah, she's basically the gateway to like this story is about finding the One Piece, but like there's some fuckery going on in this world as well. Because she has her own goals and stuff. Like, you get more of her character throughout Water 7. That kind of solidifies a lot more of her character, but overall she just remains like the strong female backbone of the entire crew. I don't think it's spoilers to say for 1,000 episodes you don't get another female character on the crew. I don't think that's spoilers. You get other characters on the crew, but you don't get other female characters.
That's what I'm aware of already.
Yeah.
Because you can't really avoid spoiler art of the Straw Hats. You know, you can't.
Yeah. So like you see the pictures. Unless like they magically the bone dude is actually a chick and he just doesn't have tits because he's nothing but bones.
Well, it's just like magically you're like, oh, the Straw Hats, and you're like, oh, who's all these characters I don't know? Well, you're gonna figure, you're like, oh, okay, well now if this character appears, I know they're gonna join the crew eventually.
Yeah, but like for like a main cast, because Nami's a decent character, but and her arc was really good.
Her arc was really good.
But
her arc was like when I was like, that's when I got sold in One Piece. I was like, okay, I'm sold.
But she's kind of regulated to like a background, like the token girl that's always scared. She's back there with Usopp and Chopper every time there's like a big baddie, and like, yeah, you guys go fight. We'll be back here. We're gonna hide. And like Nami can hold her own if she has to fight. She shows that, but she'd rather not. She's just the navigator. She's just gonna chill back here. Robin gets her hands dirty. Robin gives zero fucks. And there's a reason she gives zero fucks, but she gets
I haven't got there yet.
Yeah, but she's definitely like she's definitely like kind of the heart of the crew as far as like for the mother of the crew, and
she's also the brain cell of the crew.
the one brain cell.
One brain cell. Oh no, there has to be two brain cells because once in a while the other ones will have it, but they all share that other brain cell. Well, she always gets to keep the other brain cell.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sanji can have that brain cell for a majority of the time because he's pretty rational until there's a female around. Until Nami or Robin are around, he has the brain cell. But this minute Nami's in sight, somebody else takes it.
Yep.
So yeah.
So
I love Robin. Robin was my saving grace because I was like, please don't let Nami be like the token female of this entire series. Yeah, you get plenty of really strong females going onwards as well, which I love.
And I'm super excited to meet all of them because Cyan, guess what I did?
Oh.
I bought the last 3 box sets of One Piece for the manga.
God.
So I'm gonna jump ship finally from the anime and I'm going to continue the manga. I'm gonna start at the beginning of Water 7 and read through, because the first box set it has like all the stuff I've already read before, and the second box set has some of it, but then that's where Water 7 starts.
Right.
So I'm gonna finally jump ship and read the manga because it's just gonna take too long and I have given up. So I bought all the box sets to motivate me to read the entire series, except for box set 1. I'll get that one at a later date.
So I know we said we would do this at the end of the series.
Yes.
But I kind of want to introduce the new segment we're gonna be doing.
Oh yes, let's introduce. Like, let's take a small little break and introduce that little
So
segment.
we're now gonna have a segment in every episode called the vibe check, and it'll come whenever we feel like actually doing a vibe check. And the vibe check is just gonna be what we have been watching or reading that passed the vibe check. Like that it got us, it hooked us, and we're sold into it, and we are now addicted. And the reason I bring this in now, because you said you're gonna start reading One Piece, is I am rewatching One Piece. I needed to like reset my brain, and 2 days ago, and I said, what better way to do it? And I am currently just finished Baratier. So I'm like 30 episodes in. This is my third time rewatching One Piece.
Oh, wow.
I am caught up with like the anime portion. I think I'm like maybe 5 episodes behind where the anime's at now. And I was just like, I'm gonna catch up. Okay, I'll just rewatch it. It's fine. So what passed your vibe check?
So my vibe check. This is actually a series that I recently finished because it's been ongoing for a while. It's very short and sweet. It's called Telework Yorabanashi. Um, it is by the author of Sweat and Soap.
Okay.
It's a seinen. So essentially, it's a story about this guy who's just like a regular salaryman. And he works from home. Or does telework. So he has this room all set up to be like a nice vibe for him. And suddenly he meets his next door neighbor, Natsu. And it's revealed that this is the story of how he meets his wife.
Oh.
And so it's the story about them getting to know each other's next door neighbors and becoming closer.
Okay.
And it's very interesting because he's kind of like an otaku, but she's very like her focus is her job and she really is in her hobbies. But they kind of have a relating force because his favorite manga has elements that are key in her job.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of become closer with that. And it's really good. It's not super spicy, but I got a little spice in it. It's a really short, quick read. The chapters are pretty short. It's 18 chapters. Really good. Unfortunately, it's not licensed yet. I will say that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see it come later in the future because Sweat and Soap was such an enjoyable series. But I highly recommend Telework Yorabanashi. It's a nice little quick little read that will surpass your vibes.
Fair. Sounds interesting. I'd hope it gets licensed soon. They need to license more stuff over here.
They have been licensing actually a shit ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually overwhelmed by the amount of licenses we have
Yeah.
because I'm keeping up with like 82 manga releases right
Oh
now, and I'm like, you need to stop licensing stuff for just a little bit until stuff ends.
That's me. Like I'm watching 10. Well, I was watching 10 series. I'm putting like 9 of them on hold now, so I can
Yes.
rewatch One Piece. This is my first time rewatching One Piece in the dub, because this is the first time watching the dub that wasn't the 4Kids dub. So this is gonna be it's taking a little getting used to the new voice actors, because my first opinion of the dub is 4Kids, which is not good. And then it's always been subtitles because the dub was so far behind, but now the dub's like, I think at least past Whole Cake now. So
Yeah, it's pretty far because I'm been exclusively watching the dub.
Mm-hmm.
Since the very beginning.
It's so easy to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's easy to watch it, and then I can kind of have it on the background during episodes I'm not like vibing with totally.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's a whole arc that I am very, very glad I watched in dub and not sub because if I had to focus on these episodes, I would have dropped One Piece.
That's fair.
Over episodes that people don't typically like, anyways.
Yeah. I will be curious when you get to Dressrosa what your opinions are, because it seems like you like the same arcs I've liked and dislike the same arcs I dislike, even though popular opinion tends to like those arcs. So I'll be really curious because I don't like Dressrosa. But people praise Dressrosa so high, and I'm like, I don't like it.
I will see, because while we have very similar tastes, we have also learned we also have very, very different
Yeah.
tastes too.
I feel like our similar taste tends to overlap a lot with shonen though. Because I feel like we haven't really differed, because there's definitely shonen that I like that you dislike, but when it comes to the shonen that we can agree upon, we definitely agree upon. Our differences tend to be the stuff that's not shonen.
Yeah, it's like usually the seinen or the more or the shonen that could skew seinen.
Yeah.
And I think some shoujo.
Yeah. So and the romance genre as a whole.
Oh yeah, we definitely do not agree in the romance genre as a whole.
But like action shonens, I think for the most part, because I think the only like action shonens that we'll probably disagree on is like stuff like Black Clover doesn't interest you, but that's because you don't like magic stuff, and I love.
Yeah, it doesn't interest me, but it doesn't mean I think it's bad.
Yeah, so I think that's where our difference lies. But no, the most jarring thing for me, and this is definitely a me thing for the One Piece dub, Usopp, who is my least favorite fucking character throughout the entire series, that has never changed, is voiced by Krillin from Dragon Ball Z. And I'm hearing it, and it's the only one. Like there's a lot of voice actors in there that are like they've been reused, so it's no big deal. But because I can tell them like, okay, you're playing a different character, but Krillin's voice actor just sounds like Krillin's voice actor in One Piece, and I'm sitting here like, can I like you, I do. You're a decent voice actor. I liked you in DBZ, but I don't like hearing you here right now. I really don't. And it might just be my hatred for the character, but I don't like hearing you scream at me. But yeah, that's gonna be our new segment. That's gonna be our vibe checks.
Yeah, so be prepared to get a literal slap in the face vibe check in future episodes,
as a vibe check should be.
Yes, we were very like, hey, we're just introducing this randomly, but it's going to be a lot more random next time.
Yeah.
And we don't even know when it's gonna happen.
It only worked there because we were already talking about One Piece, and you're like, I'm reading it now, and I'm like, this is the perfect time to bring it up.
The second box set is set to be delivered sometime in the next few hours.
Yeah.
So,
but it's like perfect segue for it, because I don't know what else to talk about other than One Piece for our vibe check, because I stopped watching everything else so I can just return to Monkey for a bit.
I think it's gonna be a good reset for you.
Yeah, I love One Piece. I love long run shonens, and I was trying to think of which one I would reset, because normally my reset anime is Fairy Tail, but I have actually recently rewatched all of Fairy Tail, and I'm like,
yeah, you can't reset with like a recent rewatch. It doesn't work.
I rewatched it in January, so can't do that again. And I'm not. I just ended my Naruto streak of being obsessed with that, and Bleach has a new season, so I'm definitely never rewatching the Bleach
anime. Yeah, the Bleach. So when I watch the Bleach anime and go back, I always skip. I skip all the filler episodes except for the few that I really, really liked.
I'm so
Which were all based off of little omake chapters that existed, so they're not really that fillery. So
it's so hard to skip filler in Bleach because there's so much of it.
There is. I did when it first ended, I did the mathematical calculation by episode, and it's like 54% filler.
Yeah. You know what's really sad? One Piece is only 11% filler.
Yeah, that is. But One Piece also does the thing where you're rewatching the same episode for like half of the episode.
So no, because the filler recap site or whatever keeps track of that as well.
Yeah, so. Because I'm watching when I was watching One Piece, I had a guide pulled up, and I literally has like all the filler arcs like marked up, and I'm like skipping those episodes, but like the skipping parts is a lot less than what I'm actually watching.
Yeah.
Versus Bleach, it'd be like sections of like 50 episodes at a time.
Yeah, and then like not all the filler needs to be skipped in Bleach, so it's like picking and choosing, because some of them are okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm skipping the Bount arc except for maybe like 1 or 2 episodes that I thought were silly. that are not involving the bounce.
I'm still mad about the
I
bounce
like
arc.
I will never ever skip the beach episode. I will never skip the beach episode in Bleach. I will always watch it. There's some filler around that episode that I also really like. Um,
The
and then
substitute captain arc is absolute trash. I hate that arc so much.
yeah, I don't like that arc either. There's like some moments in it that I think are cute. Um, they're like it's like the weird filler that was before the Zanpakuto arc that I really liked, like those like little like one shot chapters or like the ones that were based off this like the Halloween chapter, the Aladdin chapter, like all of those. I really I enjoyed the first Aladdin filler. I did not enjoy the second one. The second one, I was like, okay, you're just trying to milk this now. So, same with the second Halloween one. I was like, you're milking this now.
The hardest thing for me for with Bleach, I would get back into Bleach and I would watch it a little bit, and then I would hit filler and I'd watch a couple episodes of the filler, and the filler would be bad. So I would stop watching it for like a year or two, and then I'm like, okay, time to get back into Bleach. I'm gonna power through this filler, and then I'm gonna get to the actual show. And then I watch the actual show, and then like 2 episodes later, it's like, oh, here's more filler. And I'm like, all right, dropping it again. That's why it took me 10 years to watch Bleach.
No, I was reading Bleach and I watched Bleach after I read Bleach. So for me it was just like more passive, so I could enjoy the anime more.
Yeah.
But I was back then I was just excited to have more Bleach content. I didn't really care that it was filler or not.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, it's more and it's different. So I liked it no matter what kind of garbage it was. Whereas nowadays I'm like, okay, like I kind of want to stick with something with the story typically, unless there's certain things I would like to see more like fillery stuff with, but
right.
most of the time I want to stick to the story.
That's fair. I'm very much, when I first watch something, I will not skip filler. I feel like filler is part of the process of being an anime watcher, so I will suffer through it, even if it's bad. Because then I was like, okay, if I go back and rewatch it, I'll skip filler. Because I'm gonna do that with One Piece. I'm definitely skipping. Skypiea. I can't do it. I hate that arc. I really do. I don't care if it's Eminem or not. Can't do it.
It's okay. I skipped I've been skipping the filler as I've going through One Piece, but now I'm just like, you know what? If I go to the manga, then I don't have to worry about skipping filler. I can just keep reading, and if I own it, then I feel more motivated to read it because I bought it, so I'm better read it.
Right. So. Physical copies are easier to read than online, in general. For most people,
it can be. It's easier to read when you have it, but when you want to read it and you don't have it there, that's when you kind of run into the problem.
Fair.
And the good news is that it's available in the Shonen Jump app for when I finish the volumes I'll have, because I'll have up to volume 90 once this I receive I have one box set, I have another one coming today, and then I have one more coming tomorrow. Okay. So, which the one that is most recent I'm getting tonight. So I'll be able to just read all the way through. When I hit volume 90, I can just read all the rest of the chapters in the Shonen Jump app, and it hopefully shouldn't cap me too often.
Right.
Because they do cap you at 100 chapters a day. And I've only hit that cap once. And I was like, damn, when it hits, you don't realize how mad it's going to make you until you hit it. You're like,
right.
Damn.
So back on topic. What's your next strong female character?
So this one you have watched recently. Okay. But it is Yona from Yona of the Dawn.
Oh my god.
Now, you haven't read the manga though. So
I guess.
So when you start Yona of the Dawn, she's not a strong character when you start the show. Like no, like she is. I had tried starting Yona like 3 or 4 times, and I literally could not because of her character at the beginning of the series. But because essentially she's just kind of like she's a very like sheltered princess, like deary-eyed, doesn't really think of anything like politically aspect of being a princess or anything like that. She's very sees everything with rose tinted glasses kind of person. And then at the end of the first episode, the person that she loves and cares for kills her father right in front of her. And now she's kind of on the run with her bodyguard. and she kind of goes through this change, and it's a very long process for her to kind of change and develop and be like, "Hey," and they go on this journey to essentially find these allies with her. That's really a watered down to the bare bones synopsis of
Yeah.
um, but the whole point of the show is a lot focused on her development because she isn't perfect at the beginning. Like she is not someone who you would want to be a queen or to be a ruler of a country. Like
Hmm.
she is a very sheltered girl who's very like, save me, I can't do anything for myself. But over the course of the series, she learns to step up for herself and grow, and not only that, but to reach out to others and to being able to open up and be like, "Oh, there's issues in the world and I might have the influence to change them and to help out and make a difference." Where that's not something she ever thought of when she was like like actually in her princess role,
Hmm.
and her kind of finding and developing it. And you get a small taste of that in the anime. But you really see more of that really fester and develop after the anime ends. Like I said, you only get a small taste of it in the anime, and which is why a lot of people are like, I'm not sure how I feel about Yona. It's because you don't get to see the full story because the story is still ongoing. I do
Hmm.
have to say now Yona is like one of my favorite characters in that series, and she's come a long way. And she faces a lot of people off, and I don't want to give too much just in case on the really slim off chance it does get a second season.
Right.
Um, but it
After this many years, who knows?
after this many years, but it's a very popular series, so it's like mind blowing that it doesn't.
Yeah.
It sells really well, and the story is really good. I've just recently finished collecting all of Yona that's out,
Hmm.
and I was flipping through it, and you really see her just grow and become a more mature character, and like opening up and having these influences and making these bonds and being able to just be like, instead of like, this is my friend, being like, this is my friend, but also we're working together to accomplish something
Right.
and to help others. And that's seeing her go through that change. Um, and even to face her enemies that you see in the beginning, and facing what essentially that means, is she no longer acts like a child, and it's a very good character development story. Also, there's a bunch of like hot little guys there, and they all love her. So,
Uh, I
that's also
don't,
a plus.
I don't know if you would call them hot little guys, but
I mean, they're hot big guys. What can I say?
uh, like I said, I'd recently watched. I can definitely see the potential for the growth, the way the story turns.
Hmm.
From what I've seen of the anime. I'm one of those people like I have to be sold on a character pretty early to like
Yeah.
if I can't get sold on a character within like 5 episodes of an anime, then I'm going to stop caring more and more the longer it goes before I actually care enough about like okay, well you're making the growth. And I'm like it's about fucking time. That's why I don't really care about Deku and like My Hero Academia because I'm like what season 6 that he's finally showing some character growth maybe I don't know I dropped it but apparently there's been growth there but people have also said there was growth like seasons ago and I didn't see it then either so it's like I have to be roped into a character early at least for some reason and I couldn't get into it but I can see with the way the story turned like
Yeah.
that like this entire plot line is built to make her grow essentially so
Yes.
I can definitely see that I will take your word for it because I don't know if I could stomach rereading past what I watched to get to the manga point.
I, I,
So,
I'm gonna laugh because I'm not gonna lie. The only reason I was able to power through the beginning of the series, because it's not bad. It's just like Yona's just not extremely likable at the very beginning
mm-hmm.
because she's very um princessy.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of makes it hard to get into at first. Um but what got me to read all of it was I saw some pages from like really late in the series,
Oh my
like
god.
at the time the chapters had just come out, and I was like, okay, yeah, I need to fucking read this entire series just for these 3 pages or whatever pages, however many pages it is. And mind you, that has happened with me for a lot of series. It's like, you sell me on 1 page and I will read the entire series for that 1 page.
Fair.
And that's what Yona did, and I'm so glad I ended up doing it because it ended up becoming, like, a series that I really like and I follow, monthly and buy as the releases come out.
Fair. Oh yeah, like I didn't hate the anime that I watched. I was a little disappointed that my favorite guy kind of he turned into not my favorite guy by the end of his arc. I was a little
Oh no.
I was like, I don't like how quickly he turned, and that bothered me. But you know, it's fine. it had to happen because of the way the story works. I understand, but I'm like, man, I kind of wish he would have stuck to his guns a bit longer and just been stubborn a bit more. But you know, I like the stubborn ones. I like the bratty ones, and he was right up my alley. So for my next, which I think we can maybe do 1 more each or 2 more each.
Oh shit!
we're
pick one.
We can do two more.
2 more. Okay.
You'll get 2. Yeah, because we're at an hour 40.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, let me.
Yeah. So you're deciding that my next. We got on a lot of tangents on this one again. Yeah. I'm going to a kind of a classic and another anime that I did not watch for a long time because I thought this anime was about something completely different than it was, because I thought this anime was about tentacles. It's very much not about tentacles. I can explain that later, but it is Ghost in the Shell, Major Makoto Kusanagi, like the main female.
How would you think that's about tentacles? I've never watched it, and never once have I thought or had any. I've never seen tentacles with any of that series. Like, how did you get? It was on some sketchy website, wasn't it?
No, it had nothing to do with online. This is gonna be a tangent, and this is why like I like okay, we have a little time, but I went on a date many years ago. God knows when the last time I've been on a date was. I was like early 20s. Now lived in a small town. Went on a first date with this dude to some Mexican restaurant, and these little Mexican restaurants generally had you know, a TV in the corner that showed like some kind of documentary or something, some weird television show. It was never news or sports. It was always just the weirdest fucking thing that they could find on like Discovery Channel or History Channel. And it says a lot that I was paying more attention to the TV than I was to my date. Probably why it was the only date. It was a documentary on hentai.
Oh.
Or so I thought, okay? Because there was no audio. It was just subtitles. And it was like these dudes were all talking about like Japanese animation, and they were talking about a lot of hentai, and they were showing a lot of blurred sketch art of tentacles and various different like how you know, progressive, you know, Japanese animation has gone, and how it speaks for its culture and stuff. And it was very entertaining for me, and I was just like, I was not listening to this dude talk to me at all. I was just reading what was happening on the screen. And they had a scene where they showed, you know, Ghost in the Shell clips, and I knew it was Ghost in the Shell because Kusanagi is a very recognizable character, and I've seen her before. I've seen her the DVDs at the stores before. This was long before I ever had access to the internet on a regular basis. And so I was like, oh, well, they're talking about tentacle hentai and stuff, and they're talking about Ghost in the Shell, so she gets tentacle messed in the shell or something. I don't fucking know. I assumed, I didn't assume it was a hentai, but I did assume there was tentacles involved because that seemed to be the main premise of this documentary. I would love to find this documentary again at some point so I can actually, you know, see what the full documentary was actually about, because clearly I missed a lot of it, so maybe I did pay a little attention to the dude. Maybe he shouldn't have distracted me so much and I would have understood better what they were talking about. But yeah, so I thought Ghost in the Shell was about tentacles. But then I went and I didn't start with Standalone Complex, which is where a lot of people my age started. I did go back and watch the movie first. And I've gone through and I've watched Standalone, which is my least favorite of the iterations, actually. I have not watched the live action movie. But I think the Major is like the standalone classic example of a strong female character, at least showing that strong female characters have always had a presence in anime to a point, because she is the main character. She's gonna be the main focus. She's well respected within her unit. For those that don't know, Ghost in the Shell is kind of like a futuristic world where they have cybernetic prosthetics that you can have that are integrated. Major Kusanagi's entire body is nothing but prosthetics now. She is just a ghost in a shell. She is her spirit in the shell of the prosthetic body that she's in, so she can be in whatever body she wants. But because of the way these bodies are formed, they have hackers that can hack into your bodies, basically causing all kinds of crimes, and they can't get caught for it because somebody else's body is doing it. And different iterations have different, plot points that they're going through to deal with these hackers. But Makoto's such like a kind of stoic character throughout the entire series. She's very much respected by her subordinates, and it's shown why in a lot of different instances, depending on which version you're watching. I could cover all the different variations I've watched. I think that'd take a lot of time, but I think the one that caught me the most off guard, and this is, I believe, from the movie, the first movie I'd watched, which I think came out in the early 90s, maybe even before that. There's a scene where she's trying to open a hatch, and she's like pulling on it, and she's using all her strength, and her arms, like, they're all cybernetic or whatever, but they're literally pulling out of her sockets. Like, the wiring is coming out, her entire body is falling apart as she's trying to rip through this. And like, I know it's a cybernetic body, but could you imagine, like, you know that you can't feel the pain, it's cybernetic, it's not your actual body, but could you imagine using the kind of strength to just disregard your entire body and just rip your entire arms off to try and open something to get to where you need to go? Like, I watched that, and this wasn't even early. I can imagine somebody getting into anime and watching this and being like, what the actual fuck? Like, yeah, that's something that was never done in Western media, and I don't even think it still is done in Western media. And it shows a level of like mental strength to be able to bypass like that urge to say like, oh no, you can't do that, you're gonna hurt yourself, because there is still that kind of connection. Like, this is still your body. Like, even if it's all prosthetic, this is still your body. You don't fucking just rip your arms out trying to do something.
No.
And that fucking scene is scarred into my brain. It's insane. She's just, it's a good series. Don't start with Standalone Complex. I know a lot of people say you can. Some people say you shouldn't. I say start with the fucking movie. It's old. It's a little dated, but I think it holds up.
Yeah, I'm not worried about things being dated.
Yeah, a lot of people are, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad.
Don't watch the live action. I've heard it's bad. I haven't watched it personally, but America doesn't have a good track record with doing anime movies. So, as much as I like Scarlett Johansson, yeah, no, the movies are so fucking good. I kind of want to rewatch it now. I'm gonna lie. But yeah, there's a lot of different iterations. I'm assuming you can kind of jump in at every part, because I think there's one series I haven't watched yet, but you can jump in at about any part in the series. This isn't one of those like, oh, you have to watch it in a specific order. You can start in the series and go watch the movies later. Or you can watch the movies and then watch the series later. It doesn't really matter. You kind of get a good feel for the world you're in just from the introduction from each series.
Yeah. That's good to know, because I always look at the franchise and I'm like, well, I don't really know where to start. So I usually am like, I have to think too much about where to start that I just usually don't.
There's probably a timeline in there, and honestly, I can't say I'm big enough into it to say I know the exact timeline of when these events take place. I just watched the movies and they were good, and I was like, I'm gonna watch the series. No, the series was also fucking good. I'm like, okay, I don't know what came first, like story wise. So I don't know if it particularly matters. I'm sure it's like the Gundam fandom out there that's just like, oh no, you gotta watch these in the specific universe order, like you gotta know that. I'm sure there's Ghost in the Shell fans like that as well. I'm not that hardcore of a fan. I just really like the show, and I understand why it's such a like. It's a staple.
Phenomenon.
It's a staple within classic anime for a reason. It's one of those that definitely deserves a spot, and I feel like it's one of those ones that people they know about and they don't really recommend it. Like people are gonna be like, oh, you need to, if you're an anime fan, you have to watch Cowboy Bebop. Not, you need to go watch Ghost in the Shell. Fuck Cowboy Bebop.
So my next pick, picking two of the last ones I have. Okay, I'm gonna pick this one because I definitely want to talk about this one. This is a manga you haven't read. I'd be very surprised if you did. But her name is Sugumi. She's the main character of Perfect World.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, Perfect World is essentially a story of this girl who's down on her luck with love. Not like oh man, like I'm really terrible at love, it's more like she hasn't really tried too hard. And she gets invited back to go to her class reunion, and she's like, "Oh, cool, I'm gonna meet my friends, and maybe I'll see, the guy I had a crush on in high school." So she gets reunited with her crush, but she finds out that he has to use a wheelchair. He's disabled. Um, and that like comes at a shock. She had no idea anything had happened to him. So she's like, what's going on? But nonetheless, she's still interested in him and being his friend. Because mind you, they have a normal conversation. Like he's sitting at the table already. She has no idea. She thinks nothing's wrong. It's only when he leaves that she finds out that he is different from what she remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it's a story of her rekindling this friendship with him and pursuing essentially a relationship with him and learning about the pains he's gone through with someone who went from being able to being disabled, and learning what it's also like for not just her as a friend or a partner, but also how it affects their families and other people and the communities. And it sounds to a lot of people, you look at it and you think it might be fetishizing it a little bit. This series does not do that. Like this is a really, really good story. It handles this really delicate information. This author has become one of my favorite authors of all time because they handle things that are very difficult topics to digest and to kind of explore. She handles them with absolute grace because she's really good at showing the real side of being, hey, you're not gonna be perfect. You're going to make mistakes in handling these. Granted, they're not like grandmaster mistakes like some of the stuff I've recommended you. But they're like, we're human and we aren't perfect in every way, and we get mad at each other, but we still want to work and understand each other and work through this, especially in a situation not a lot of there's a lot of people who have experienced this, but there's a lot of people who haven't. So I think it's a really good story for everyone. It is an emotional tool. I got like halfway through the series and then I started buying it because I finally became available to buy. And I have all of it now, and I still haven't finished it because I think I have cried in every single volume. I am not mentally prepared to go back to this series. But this character, they go through so much, and I think she's a really strong character because she, even as he's pushing her away, like she's like, no, I want to go through this and I want to be with you no matter what kind of hardships we face. In a situation that a lot of people do run away from. Like, there's a lot of people who, once there's issues with them, whether they become blind, whether they can't hear, whether they can no longer move the way they want, people abandon them. And it sucks because people shouldn't do that. That's like shitty. but she's someone who stayed, and she went through it, decides to go through it with him. And I think while you see the strength in, of course, the main character, I think it's also a lot of strength on her because we don't see that strength often, especially in countries like Japan, where being abnormal in any kind of facility is not looked positively upon, which again, it sucks and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But it's a really good story, and I think she is a really strong character for going through. And this is like pure emotional strength.
Shio out here just recommending all the things that are gonna make people cry.
So you will learn that like the things that I really like are the things that make me cry. Like if it makes me cry, I'm probably gonna recommend it, even if it's not that good because it made me cry. So, but this one is really really good. I've gone back and read this a little bit, and then I've read her other works, and she's just a master at writing characters and tough situations in ways that aren't like the series I recommended you, which I won't say that title yet.
Yeah.
So it's very refreshing seeing someone take a very mature route with sensitive topics, especially topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Especially in Japan. So, I think she's a really strong character, and it's a manga that I really recommend.
Okay. I may look into it. Manga's so hard for me to get into.
It is, but this one I like is so good. It does like obviously like first volume, you kind of like warming up, getting introduced to the premise and everything, and then like kind of goes from there. And it's like about 12 volumes long.
Okay.
And this one is a josei, so it covers a lot of more adult topics. So
not saying that Shoujo doesn't also cover adult topics.
No, not saying weird. That. No, but like the themes are there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it's not like a high school romance, I should say. It's like it's a very adult characters, and they're feeling very adult emotions and very complex emotions and things that might make even you as a reader feel uncomfortable because you might not realize stuff you've been doing or things you've taken for granted. And I don't know, it's a very eye-opening series.
Okay.
So
for my last one, my last one is actually the first one that came to my mind, and I'm pretty sure it was the first one that came to my mind whenever we first proposed this topic as well, when we recommended what topics for the podcast. Because, but I think strong female characters, this is just the one that just people can't argue about it. But I think people also just don't think about it, and I don't know why. It is the master of monsters, the Iron Maiden herself, Sir Integra Fairbrook Wingate's Hellsing from the Hellsing series. She is by far the epitome of a strong female character, and nobody talks about it. And I fucking hate it, and it irritates me to no end because like she is a little kind of backcast, at least in the earlier series, because there's two iterations. There's the original one that ran for 13 episodes that had an anime only ending, and then there's of course the Hellsing Ultimate that follows the manga through completion. And she kind of gets as more of a background character in the 13 episodes to Alucard and Ceres, because those two are kind of the main character. But she is essentially the master of Alucard. She is the one that he follows all the commands for. But in both series, you kind of get her backstory, and Hellsing, you get a lot more of her backstory of how her father died, her uncle was about to just like basically, I don't know if he was gonna put her in prison, murder her, hard R her, whatever the fuck he was about to do. He was about to do some fucked up shit to her. She ran away from him, hid from him, found this mummified creature in the basement that her father hid, or her ancestors had hid, and woke it up with her blood, to which now Alucard, which was the mummified creature, is now her servant for life. but she gives zero shits. There's so many points within the show where like the villains come up to her and they're like, all right, well, we can't get to our Alucard, so but we can kill you, and she's just like, okay, fucking do it, bitch. Just fucking kill me. And then they hesitate for a minute, and she just either she takes care of him because she can take care of herself, or Alucard does it, or her fucking butler does it. And her butler's also a fucking badass. Like this entire series is just this entire household is just badass characters all put into one. It's Integra, the Walter, the butler is a psychopath in his like previous life. Alucard's, even Saris later in the series becomes a very very strong character, but there's it's just her give no shits attitude of just like, you dare fucking touch me or you want to fucking kill me, just fucking do it then. Don't be a fucking pussy, just do it. Like, I love that. And nobody brings attention to it when you talk about strong female characters. They just like, oh yeah, strong female characters. Let's talk about Revi, or let's talk about, you know, Mikasa, which I technically brought up, but like people bring up like, you know, stuff like that. They bring up like what's her name, the Miss Armstrong from Fullmetal Alchemist, or
oh yeah,
but like she never gets talked about because everyone just thinks about Saris in that series, and I hate it because she's still a main cast character, and she is Hellsing. Like, she is the Hellsing that the entire series is built around. So I love it, and I love that series so much. I even love the original. The original did far better with the music choices. I don't understand why Ultimate decided, hey, we're gonna put cheesy pop songs in the middle of a massacre in the middle of a city. That makes sense, sure, but yeah.
Well, I had no idea who you were talking about, so I looked her up, and she looks like a boss ass bitch. I think you made an excellent decision.
She is amazing. Her character design is fucking great. Like, every scene she's in, she's sitting back in her chair, all dressed up in the suit with the gangster jacket and a cigar in her hand, and she's shouting orders, and nobody fucking questions her. There's a few people that come in and they're like, "Oh, you're just the like spoiled princess of the Hellsing family. You're just backed up because you have Alucard." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, you want to test that? Go ahead, try and touch me." Oh, I love it.
I'm low-key irritated because she never shows up in like options of what I was searching for like cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
But she would have been a perfect cosplay. Oh
I
my
know!
god. I'm so like, she's such a great, oh god, she's beautiful. I love her. You've sold me. I was really wishy-washy whether I wanted to watch Hellsing. And now I'm like, I think this character is gonna sell me in Hellsing.
Oh, she's great.
Not in the immediate future, but in the future.
It's such a hard one to recommend because for me personally, I always like watch. I want people to watch the original. It's dated. It's really really dated because it's a slower pace and there's a lot of quiet moments, which they don't do a lot more in anime anymore. But the soundtrack for the original is chef's kiss. The soundtrack for Ultimate is absolute garbage, but the animation and like the pacing of it is a lot better in Ultimate. I will give it that. The story is straight from the manga. It is introduces characters that did not get the shine in the original, like Schrodinger, the best little cat boy of all time. But yeah, it's hard for me to I don't ever recommend it because I'm always torn. Like, I don't even know if I should recommend you the old one or the new one. I do the Brotherhood thing where I just watch both. But I know that's a commitment. It's a commitment because Ultimate episodes, it's 10 episodes and they're an hour long a piece already. So it's basically 20 episodes. But yeah, who's your final pick?
I've literally been like pacing. I have 5 written down, and deciding one from these 5 is like impossible. Actually, technically I have 6 because I was gonna pick one from one franchise, and I was like, I didn't know who I was gonna pick yet.
So how about we do this? You pick one more we can talk about in depth, and then we can have honorable mentions where we don't talk about them, but we can at least say their names. Is that easier?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that might be a little bit easier.
I still have some on my list as well, so we can run through those.
Then I'm going to. I was so proud of myself because I was like, I haven't talked about this particular show yet, And this is the show I always think of when it is, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? I'll bring up one of the other ones." But if we're doing honorable mentions, that makes it people I can talk about later for other things. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up that same series I always talk about. I'm gonna talk about Fruits Basket. Um, I was so proud of myself that I haven't brought it up once
Oh
yet.
my god.
Um, but I'm not so gonna be talking about Toru Honda, who seems like the obvious choice. I'm actually gonna be talking about Kyoko Honda.
Okay.
Uh, so
Oh,
now this
controversial.
is it's very controversial, but I don't think the controversialness is with Kyoko herself. Where it's about Katsuya, which you can't talk about Kyoko without talking about Katsuya.
Right.
But this isn't his show. We ain't talking about him. So we already know what you're gonna say, and this isn't about him. This is about Kyoko, and this is about Kyoko's perspective. So for any of you who know, but also this will be spoilers essentially for Kyoko's backstory.
Yeah, this is
Um,
spoilers for Prelude, which is the movie that follows the Fruits Basket anime.
yeah. So Kyoko is essentially a girl who's just never been loved, um, ever from her parents growing up. Very cold household, and she ends up becoming a gangster. Um, and while she now, mind you, I'm giving like a really brief kind of rundown of her character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now while she's a gangster, she runs into this student teacher, um, and who teaches her essentially like that she just wanted what she wanted was to be loved. And she ended up like breaking her because this entire time, like she's known as this big, scary Yakuza girl beating up people, and kind of really grimming out. And people would think, wow, that's like strong. She's a strong Yankee, scary lady who's a legendary lady. But really, she's just a girl who's young and hurting a lot and reaching out. So at this point, she's not really, I would consider a strong character at this point. But essentially, she ends up falling in love with this man, and when you find her strength, um, is after he passes away. Um, it absolutely destroys her. Like she is at her lowest point after he passes away. And after some time, she realizes she still has Toru.
Mm-hmm.
And this event we learn is something that influences the main character a lot. Um, but her finally dredging down and pulling herself out of this, not only before when she turned her life around to try to be a better student and she quit her gang, like that was already her taking steps in the right direction to be a better person, a stronger character, and she was on the up and up. And despite the setback with Katsuya passing away and literally almost taking her own life, she stays and she fights to live for her daughter, and she works herself to the bone every day. Like she never went to high school. She didn't make it. Like, she didn't pass the exam because she wasn't able to take it because
Mm-hmm.
she got beat up to all hell. But she still works every day, and she doesn't take her hurt out on her child. Like she treats them with love, and she really does everything she can for them and teaches them how to be a good person when they themselves growing up wasn't necessarily a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is through her strength and her growth that we are able to have the strong protagonist that we have.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Kyoko is idolized a lot, but I think we really kind of overlook the fact that this is a broken character who really went through a lot to become that epitome of strength that we see in the beginning of the series. Um, and a lot of people overlook that, I feel, because of the controversy that is her relationship with her spouse.
It
Um,
says a lot that it's a character that died before the series happened, but they're very much present throughout the entire series and like
yeah,
almost everything that Toru says.
all the way to the final chapter.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
it's like she's gone, but she's is a main character still because it's literally the driving force that keeps Toru going, and the morals that she implanted into her daughter is the reason Toru is the way she is, and the way reason she's able to open up all the hearts for all the members of the Soma family the way she does.
Yeah. And it wouldn't, without Kyoko's strength, Toru would have never found her strength.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real, Kyoko really fucking hurt Toru.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, it's not like she did it with any male intention. She made a mistake as a human being that people make.
Right.
And she's worked really hard to try to help heal that wound. Obviously, it doesn't work that way, but she's come a long way, and she's worked through like the absolutely devastating grief that left her to nearly want to die as well.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot to dredge up and to work through.
I cried so much when that happened.
I that's why it's my favorite part of the series, because it's the part that gets to me the most, is especially since it's someone that you rely on so much. Especially since she's so young.
Yeah.
That no matter like how you view that relationship, it is absolutely devastating that the one person who is essentially the role model and the adult in her life, no matter how much you like that adult or not, to lose that person and that staple, and the one person who tells you that, hey, I love you and you're not a bad person.
Right.
And you lose that one person that you have, that's devastating, and it's going to hurt no matter what. And that's and her, it's beautiful to watch her break down, and it makes me break down like every time.
Yeah.
And seeing her overcome that and becoming that stepping stool is a very beautiful transformation.
Right. And if you've watched Fruits Basket, anybody out there that's watched Fruits Basket and has not watched the Prelude movie, go fucking do it.
Yeah.
Because you have missed so much.
You have. Do watch Fruits Basket though before you watch Prelude,
yeah.
because the first half of that movie is a recap of the entire series.
Yeah.
Not the like of the whole series, but like of the main character's life to that point.
I feel like it does better to watch it even if they didn't do the recap, because it's better to like, okay, now this makes sense to why Toro is the way she is, instead of like, okay, well, we see all this, and then you're like slowly piecing the pieces together as you watch. It's better like, okay, you have the entire puzzle and you're missing this one piece, and that one piece brings the picture together. I think that's a much better way of like ingesting Fruits Basket. Or just read the manga.
My personal recommendation is to watch the anime, watch Prelude, and then rewatch the anime. Because there's so many things you'll pick up from, well, you're gonna pick up so much because now you know the dots that's been going on in the main series.
Yeah.
But you will see a lot of how this piece you learn about Kyoko's effect on Toru really affects Toru as a character all the way to the end.
Oh yeah. It's such a good series.
It is. It is. I was really proud of myself to not talk about it until this point, because it was really hard not to. I was like, oh, I could put this Fruits Basket character. I could put this Fruits Basket character, and I'm like, can't do all of them.
I actually thought at some point I was just like, I need to remind Shio she should only pick one character per series, because she can just fill us up with nothing but Fruits Basket characters.
I can, but I figure I can talk about Fruits Basket in small doses.
Yeah, we can also just do an entire episode on Fruits Basket, which
we could do multiple episodes on Fruits Basket, but we probably won't, but we could.
Yeah. So honorable mentions. I have
honorable mentions.
Like I have a few more on my list, but I'll just go through like the 4 that I think probably that I wouldn't have to talk about for people to kind of understand.
Mention 5, because I have 5 technically.
5, okay. So first would be Masato Kusaragi from Kusaragi, yeah? From Evangelion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, is it Kusaragi or Kusanagi?
I think it's
Kusaragi.
I think it's Kusaragi.
I just have Evangelion written down. Like I said, in most of them, I just wrote down the names of the shows. I was like, I know who I'm going to talk about. Hunter x Hunter's Biscuit, which is a character that shows up later on. That's more of on the physically strong side. But I love her. I'll do Lena Inverse from Slayers, which I thought she's the main character of the series. I feel like most people don't really think about Slayers anymore. It's a very, very long-running show that doesn't really get a lot of talk about. The only shoujo on my list, which would be Oran High School Host Club.
Oh.
Haruhi, yeah.
Haruhi's a pretty strong character.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had to pick a fifth, I'll go with a very, very obvious one, Revi from Black Lagoon.
Okay. You picked a lot of good ones, and a lot of them that I know the characters, but I haven't watched their franchises. So my honorable mentions is Mikan from Gakuen Alice or Alice Academy.
Oh my god, I haven't talked about that in forever.
Yeah, I think she goes through, for her age, like she's a really strong character for her age.
Yeah.
The next one I have two characters that are from the same show. But I couldn't decide which one to pick between them because I thought they're both strong in very different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Hana and Natsu from Seven Seeds.
Okay.
And then I have Mitsuki Koyama from Full Moon Osagashite.
Oh my god.
I figure we'll talk about this series another time.
Oh yeah.
More in depth, but yes, definitely she is. And then to kind of tie it back to the beginning, I have Rukia from Bleach.
Fair.
Because Rukia was made to be like the second main character, and she goes through a lot of growth, and she is a very strong character.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Wouldn't be my pick from Bleach, I don't think.
There's a lot of good picks from Bleach, but Rukia is just my favorite female character from Bleach. That's why I picked her.
I'm sure when we talk about ships at some point, that's gonna come up again too.
Yeah. Actually, well, maybe I might get outshined by some other things. But we'll see about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was it for this episode. If you like this, if you want to continue hearing more from us, go ahead and give us a follow or a subscription from YouTube, Spotify, and I have us up on Google Podcasts now. I still haven't figured out Apple. Apple's being a pain in the ass. If you want updates on episodes, you can follow us on our Twitter, which is RiceCon Podcast, or you can even check out, we now have TikTok, where we'll put some clips up that have been edited by our editor, Tao.
Yeah, thank you, Tao.
Yeah, so go ahead and follow all those if you like. To tide you over, this is a bi-weekly podcast, so it's gonna be every other week, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're busy.
Yeah, especially until Anime Expo comes around. Yes. Shio, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter under Lady Shio. You can find me on YouTube under Lady Shio. Most places on Twitch you can find me under Shiorins. And if you can't find me under Shiorins, it's Lady Shio. You can also find me on AniList and my anime list as well.
And I am Cyan Kincaid on Twitch, Cyan_Aniki on Twitter, which I probably should change that and just make it the same everywhere. And you'll probably find me more on Twitch than Twitter. I don't really tweet a lot. A lot of my tweets are just retweeting the RiceCon stuff lately. It's okay. My tweets are mostly manga hauls and oh my god, I'm so excited for this manga release. Right. Or me like trying to talk about work without talking about work. Right. But until then, we'll catch y'all next time with the next episode. Yes. Bye.